year. Again, under slightly different circumstances, we would, of course, have liked to have done this face-to-face with you, given some of the recent events here and some other local schools in Essex. Unfortunately, we've not been able to do that this time. What I will say from the outset, though, is that our parents' evening that will be coming up, and we'll be sharing those key dates with you, that will be live and that will be face-to-face in the building. So apologies that our first meeting this time is over the computer. Just to start, to let everybody know, the session will last around about 45 minutes. It is recorded, so parents who aren't available for the whole thing or people who've missed it will be able to catch up on this at a later date. So my name is Mr Charlton and I'm the new head teacher at Roding Valley. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Welcome to everybody joining us today. The purpose of this event really is quite simple. It's just to share as much detail as we can, important detail that we think you need to know as parents of Year 11 students this year, and help you have some hopefully informed conversations with your children about some of the things that we talk about. I will pass over to a number of different colleagues at different points, and I'm also going to share some hopefully very important key details of staff who are going to be working with your children over the next 9 months or so. But we're going to give you some practical advice around revision, around support, exams, key dates for the year, and also some important information about our sixth form. You'll notice at the top of this slide, there is an email address. So if you'd like to ask any questions, it is being monitored. Please send those into parentforum@rodingvalley.net. And what we'll do is we move between speakers, we'll be able to address some of those questions, particularly if we're getting similar questions from lots of different people as well. And as I said, just a reminder, a big plug actually, that on Thursday, the 28th of September at 4 o'clock is our Year 11's Parents' Evening. More information will follow, but it'd be great to see you there face to face. Okay. You'll be well aware of this 7-year journey now, and actually I think for a number of you, probably this Year 11 has snuck up on you. It's only would have felt like, a few weeks ago, a few months ago, a few years ago that you would talk about Year 9 options and coming into secondary school in the first place. And actually, as we know that every year is important at Roding Valley, actually what happens at the end of this year is critical for your children. It opens doors, it unlocks those different doors to different pathways, whether that's further education, whether that's studying in our sixth form, whether that's going on to do an apprenticeship, or indeed getting a job or continuing training elsewhere. But we know it's the results at the end of this year, these examinations, that are going to be really, really important for our students. Our school actually has had this vision for a number of years. And when I came to the school before the summer, this was absolutely clear in all of my conversations with staff and with students. And the interesting thing is our vision is to be the school of choice. As it stands this time next year, we will be the school of choice for all of our students in the local area. And that's a significant shift. But it also extends to our sixth form. And later on, Ms Larkin will talk to you about entry requirements. But actually, I think it's worth noting from the very outset that we've got a really oversubscribed sixth form. And so our students need to be absolutely focused this year on doing everything they can to achieve their target grades and being really clear in their minds, but also in your minds as well. What are the entry requirements for our A-level courses? What are the entry requirements for our vocational courses? Really working back from that can set some nice clear goals and targets for our students, which we know in our experience can have a really positive impact on the outcomes for those students moving forward. Miss Curling, who is the head of sixth form, she's in charge of year 12 and 13, will be running some sessions tomorrow for the year 12 and 13 parents, but she's always available to speak to if you've got any further questions about entry requirements or anything sixth form related. I'd like to spend a couple of minutes talking to you about our GCSE results this year. We're really, really over the moon with our Year 11s and how well they did. And I think it's important for you to know actually some of the headlines there, just to give you a bit of confidence as well and let you know that actually what we are doing, our plans do work for our students as well. Many of them did exceptionally well this summer, exceeding both local and national averages. And our Progress 8 score, if you like, which is the important one, although it's provisional, is very, very strong again this year. And actually that follows a recent trend of improvement over the last 4 years. And we're absolutely delighted with this. And also what it means for each of those Year 11 students as well. I won't go into great details about the subject specifics for each of our students, but what you will be able to see on our figures that actually we outperformed local averages, but also national averages in many of those key figures. So our students did very, very well, and we're really, really proud of them this year. As I say, the progress figure, which is that column on the right-hand side for 2023 overall, is very healthy. It's at plus 0.2, which is very strong. You will see it's up considerably in our 29 progress measure. And the reason why that we compare these two dates actually is that was the last time pre-COVID when we had an unaffected exam period. So a lot of schools are making those comparisons. And as you can see, that's a really healthy increase on 2019 and on 2018 as well. So we're really proud of the progress that our students make. We're really proud about the work we've done around the curriculum to make sure that our students are in that position in the first place. And when I do hand over to Miss Larkin, she will talk to you in a little bit more depth about that. I'm sure it goes without saying that you're aware just how important attendance is for any student. You won't need convincing on that as well. But what you won't necessarily be aware of is just how stark the difference is between students who attend on a regular basis and students who are considered persistently absent. Actually, it is quite stark, and students with an attendance of 95% or more will achieve almost 2 full grades higher than those with attendance of 85%. And that equates to less than a day a week of absence over the course of the year, which might not seem a lot, certainly to some students, but actually we know has a significant impact on their outcomes and ultimately what they're able to do moving forward, whether that's going into the sixth form, as I've said, and whether that's accessing their first choice courses, which for many of our students at Roding Valley, it's A-level courses as well. So that's very, very important. And we know that that has a clear link between how well they do and how often they attend school. In terms of our A-level headlines, again, our students did exceptionally well last year. And we had students going off to many, as you could imagine, many in varied universities to do different courses. We had a number of students going off to do degree apprenticeships, which I urge you to look into if you've not yet got a huge amount of information on those. We've also got a high number of students who've gone off into the world of work, but also explored additional training opportunities. This year, we've had students, we're very proud, who've gone off to Cambridge to do medicine, off to University of Leeds to study international politics and history, and we've had students going off to Sussex to study sociology, LSE to study political science, and the list is, it really could go on. But we are exceptionally proud again of how well they achieved, but also how hard they worked over the past 2 years. Also not forgetting the fact that how badly impacted they were by COVID at GCSE as well. So again, we're really, really happy with how well those students have achieved. Before I hand over to Miss Larkin, who will talk to you a little bit more about the curriculum in progress, I just wanted to share some key people who are going to be working with your child over the course of this year. Mr Vermaak, who you'll also hear from, is one of our assistant head teachers and leads on raising standards across the school and has done some exceptional work in the last few years, and you'll see that by the results that I showed previously. Mr Mia, who won't be presenting tonight, but is one of our assistant head teachers. He's in charge of teaching and learning and all of the innovative new strategies that are brought into the school. You will be aware that if our students aren't interested, if they're not engaging in their lessons, they find it much more difficult. And Mr Mia really is at the forefront of leading on that. You will tonight hear from Ms Pinches, who's a year progress leader. Many of you will know Ms Pinches and have had conversations with her as well. And I've already talked about Ms Curling, who is the director of sixth form, who is an absolute expert in all things post-16 and is always available for you to speak to as well. And finally, I just wanted to mention Mrs Mason, who's our outstanding careers development manager. The work she does with our students to help secure their next steps is absolutely phenomenal. And that really, really is important in year 11 when students have got a clear plan and a clear focus for the next year. It really does make that much easier for them to focus in their lessons and have something which they are aiming for and looking forward to at the end of the year. Thank you so much, as I say, for joining us tonight. I'm now going to hand over to Miss Larkin, who is one of our deputy head teachers and who is responsible for curriculum and progress.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So as Mr Charlton just said, my name's Miss Larkin. I've probably met lots of you, either online or in real life, or I've had phone conversations with you plenty of times. And as sir said, I'm one of the deputy head teachers in charge of curriculum and progress. And what I'm going to try and do is just give you a bit of a run through, essentially, of how we can get Year 11 ready for the year ahead. There's going to be lots of key dates flying around this evening. There's going to be lots of exciting opportunities that we're going to talk about. We'll talk about sixth form, and it seems like a very daunting time. So I want to be able to break down some of the information that you as parents will need to know to try and help your son or daughter over these next coming months as they get closer to those public exams. So as I said, my first little bit is going to be focused on what can we all do as parents, as students, and as teachers, essentially, to help these students out during this very, very crucial time. So first of all, I just want to make this mantra very clear that we need to make every single minute count. And I'm very much an optimist, where if a student says to me, oh, it's too late, I can't do this, or it's too late, I can't do that, I'm always like, it's never too late. It's actually never too late until you put your pen down in that final exam in Year 11. There's always something you can do, and there's always something that might end up turning around a particular grade, a particular mark that gets you to those next steps. And these dates are going to be shared with you later on our key date slide, so don't worry too much about scribbling them down. But I wanted to outline these dates because essentially what I'm about to talk about fits around perfectly breaking these down into 3 milestones. So first of all, we have on the week beginning the 30th of October, which is not too far away now, we have our first PPE 1 window, which is your pre-public examination. Essentially, this is a mock exam. This is a chance to practice your exam technique, but more importantly, it's a chance to get some feedback from your teachers and then close the gap on any mistakes that you may have made. Then we have PPE 2, which is the week beginning the 5th of February. Again, it's another chance. Let's act on some feedback from the first set of PPEs. Let's put that revision strategy into practice that you may have been, experimenting with. It's a great chance to do it then. And then lastly, obviously, we've got the real thing coming up in the May to June summer series in 2024. So if we break things down around these dates, we can make them more manageable. And I also want to share with you things that you can have a go at right now and put into practice as parents and as students as well. So the first thing I'd like to flag to you in relation to these dates are the plethora, the absolute, sort of treasure trove of revision resources that we have available for you on our website. So the first thing I want to flag for you is if you visit our website and if you click on the revision resources tab, then you will see a page that looks a little bit like this. It's got a little bit of a blurb, and then underneath that, it's got some of our key strategies. Now, that's all good and well, but the bit I really want to point out to you that I would urge every single parent and every single student to become familiar with is our Year 11 GCSE revision microsite. This microsite has been made by our subject teachers for your students, for your son or daughter, based around the exam board content. So you couldn't really get much better than this, because it stops your son or daughter having to trawl through the internet, having to Google things, having to look for revision guides, having to look for past papers. It is all in one place. And this microsite is absolutely fantastic because as you can see from the top headings here, each department has its own page. Now, you can only see a few there, but if you click on the drop-down box, every single subject that offers a GCSE course has its own page. So if you'd like to revise history or geography or Spanish or whatever it is, you search for the page on the microsite, and on that page, you will find personalised learning checklists for each subject. I'll touch on those in a minute. You'll also find exam board information. You'll find helpful web pages that are linked directly onto this microsite. You will find revision guides, revision resources, downloadable items that you can then type into and then you can work on at home. Each page will contain all of this stuff. You'll also find reading lists if you want to push yourself a little bit further. But the beauty of this website essentially is that this has been made specifically for the courses that your son or daughter is sitting, so that you're not having to worry about whether or not the content is appropriate, whether or not it actually fits with the exam. It's all in one place. There's also a fantastic page on there as well called Revision Templates. And if you click on that, you'll also be able to find lots of revision templates that you can download, that you can print off, that you can use at home. And all of these revision templates are the ones that your child has been learning since year 7. So things like Buzan Mind Maps, Cornell Notes, Flip and Fold, Tell Me 5, all the things that we like to do in our revision workshops, which I know Mr Mia will be organising very shortly for the whole of year 11, so that they can practice those things again. Because what we don't want is students arriving into that revision period not really knowing how to revise. We've been doing this since year 7. We're not going to change it now. It works for us. And all of the stuff is available on this brilliant microsite. So please, I urge you, do take a look at that. This is stuff that we can get going with now so that we're not sort of scrambling around and we're not stressed out in those final weeks before the public examinations. So as I previously mentioned, we do have the personalised learning checklists that currently sit on every single subject page on the microsite. And you're probably thinking, well, what is a personalised learning checklist? Well, we break it down into a PLC. And essentially what these do, each subject has one, and it gives you in a nice, simple list all of the content that you need to know for that specific exam and for that specific subject. And what we tell our students to do is we tell them to rate their PLC. So put a red next to it if you really don't feel comfortable with that content or that unit. Put an amber or an orange next to it if you feel, I'm unsure, I don't feel too confident though, and a green if you feel confident. That then helps students tackle their revision in a measured way, in a logical way, rather than thinking they have to revise absolutely every single thing all at once, because we know that's not manageable. And we also know the research suggests that you can't sit there for hours upon hours on end revising the same thing. We need to break things down into short, manageable chunks. But I'm not going to talk lots about the science behind revision, because I know that we will have a parents forum dedicated purely to revision. And like I said, we'll also have an in-house revision workshop for all students in year 11 to go back over those revision techniques. But again, just to summarise this section, the PLCs are available on our microsite. So moving on then, I won't talk too much about Google Classroom, but the one thing I do want to say is that we still use and will continue to use Google Classroom as a tool to set all of our home learning assignments, okay? It's really, really important that I say that to everybody. We are not using a different tool. We are using Google Classroom, and that is where everything is set. It's also where we put material onto the Google Classroom for students to access as revision aids, as extra things to have a look at. It's a really, really important resource that every student must be accessing on a daily basis throughout the week. If you as parents are thinking, well, I don't really know what they have to do, well, it's nice and simple. You can just click on your child's to-do list, which you'll find in one of the tabs alongside the Google Classroom homepage. And on that to-do list, you'll see all of the assignments that they have upcoming. And if as a parent, you want to be able to access this really easily without having to log into Google, if you visit your EduLink app and you click on homework, you'll also see for each week what assignments your son or daughter has to do, what they've got due in. And it's a really quick way of being able to see what they've been set for that week. But as I said, all of the detail is there on Google Classroom for every single student. Just very, very quickly as well from me, when it comes to home learning, when it comes to revision, we also have another resource that I would really like to remind parents about, and that resource is Bedrock. We've been using Bedrock now for the past couple of years, and we actually believe that it's partly one of the reasons as to why our English results in particular have been so outstanding over the past couple of years. Now, as we know, it literally doesn't just affect the way students perform across English. It actually affects the way they perform across all subjects, because they need good English skills, good literacy skills to be able to access each and every one of their GCSE examinations. And you're probably thinking, well, what is Bedrock? Bedrock is a tool, as I said, that we introduced 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, we introduced Bedrock as a tool to improve students' literacy standards. And essentially, all you need to do is, as a student, you log into your Bedrock using your Google Mail account, And then once you're in Bedrock, you can see all the words that you should be learning and all those words that will help you unlock the GCSE content. And the one thing I'd like to say to Year 11 in particular this evening, that we also have a new tool with Bedrock that helps you not only learn Tier 2 language, but it also helps you access Tier 3 language as well. And Tier 3 language is the subject specific language that you need for your GCSE. And to get to that, all you need to do is click on Mapper, Bedrock Mapper. And once you click on that, and you can see the home page on the screen there, you will see all of the words that you need for your English GCSE, for your history GCSE, for your geography GCSE. And the teachers are busy preparing all those words for you so that you can access those and practice those words. Because lots of Year 11 say to me, Miss, I really like Bedrock. I like, keeping on top of my vocabulary. I'm learning lots of new words, but I don't know how to access the GCSE content. And that's how you get to it. You access it via Mapper. And I wanted to make sure that all parents were also aware of this excellent tool. I'm going to pause there. You'll be hearing from me a bit more later on when it comes to sixth form results and sixth form next steps and entry requirements. You'll be hearing from me a bit later on about that. But I'm going to pass over to Mr Vermaak now, one of our assistant head teachers, who would really like to talk to you about raising standards and all the important information surrounding progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. I'm just quickly going to go and share the screen. Yeah. Let me just get a presentation. There we are. Okay. I think the key thing to remember is actually we are returning to normality. We actually have a full curriculum that they're going to be assessed on. There's actually no special dispensation for any of the students, except if there's special learning needs. And there would be no further support material. They actually are returning to the pre-COVID time. We actually saw this year already at the grade boundaries actually went down tremendously. It actually was really it was really quite strict, and a lot of students actually struggled with that. And we actually have put a lot in place to actually make sure that we really have the students well prepared. Okay. Now, let me just get my camera on quickly. There we are. Now, a key thing for ourselves, it actually is an alliance with all of us actually that work together. We do put a lot in place. The staff here is actually quite amazing in terms of making sure that students are well prepared. They spend so much of their own time after school as well. What we have in place, we actually have 30-minute sessions 3 times a week, where actually they'll either be in maths, English, or science. That has proven to be really successful in terms of actually raising the attainment of our students. There's some interventions being run in PE time, and we do try and take into account students' preference as well, but unfortunately we are limited and we have a specific focus. We in general don't really run revision sessions. We actually run intervention sessions that's targeted at specific students and specific skills that flow from the exams. And our current intervention sessions are based on what we've learned from at the end of year 10 exam. We have a host of after-school intervention sessions that run as well. And the task that you can actually play a major role in is to ensure that we actually are really encouraging the students to make use of that. It isn't helpful if we have a constant issue around students not wanting to attend. These are incredibly helpful. It does help prepare them. And I must say, the amount of positive support we get from students for actually running these sessions are quite incredible. But it's also important that you as a parent actually encourage them to attend and get them to really understand why they got 2 terms left, and actually then they are going to be in the final run-up to the actual exam. We have our PPE exam, we actually shorten it slightly, but it is quite a stressful time for students. It's a formal exam. They'll do it under exam condition. It's based on previous exam papers or questions. We have a spring term that is actually quite a large exam that really is very similar to the actual exam, but just squeezed into a bit of a shorter time. And these things tend to actually be quite stressful times for your children. So it's important that you actually are aware when these exams are, encourage them. Also take note of the fact that actually they are maybe in a period where they're quite stressed about that, and see what you can do at home to also support them. It is really an important time and gives a lot of information. The first exam in autumn would play quite a role in the applications for sixth form and for courses or colleges. So it is really important they get a good outcome from that. Key dates, we've actually spoke about that, 28th of September. Please make sure you actually make appointments for those key subjects. Look at the ones where you really want to have a discussion. There is always some staff that actually is quite fully booked, and our instruction to them as well is to actually target those students or give preference to the students where there is actually some issues or where they're struggling in terms of actually achieving the grades that they should be achieving, and have a discussion with them. If you actually feel it's not enough time, please make an appointment with a member of staff outside the parents' evening, actually go and talk to them. Then we've got the PPE round 1. The sixth form open evening, the 29th of October, is quite important. Come and talk about what the subject requirements is. It's going to be really important that the students really understand. Our sixth form is totally oversubscribed, and we couldn't actually offer any leeway in terms of allowing students in that didn't meet the entry requirements. So it is really important they really understand and know what they're working towards. PPE round 2 is literally the final time where we're going to be tweaking the last half term in terms of preparing for exams. So what we learned from the PPE 2 would actually be a real focus area for us then to make sure we close those gaps. But it is basically the final run up then into the exams. And I'm going to stop there and hand over to Ms Pinches.
Thank you, Mr Vermaak. To share my screen. Okay, good evening everyone, and for those of you who I haven't met or spoken to before, my name is Ms Pinches and I am the head of year and year progress leader for year 11. Now I've been really grateful to stay with this year group from year 10 into year 11, and we've got lots of things planned for them throughout the year to ensure that we are all on the same page and that we're working towards that one goal. So there's just a few things I'm going to highlight for us this evening. The first thing I know Mr Charlton has spoken about, but I do just want to remind parents around our attendance. As a whole year group, we do have very good attendance, but it is at this point where it is more important than ever to ensure that our students are in school full time. When we look at the maths and we figure out exactly how many hours of learning are missed just from one day, it has a really large knock-on effect into the rest of the curriculum. So I just want to remind parents that obviously attendance as much as possible has to be our main priority. And if there are any concerns or any questions or any issues, that they can be coming to me and I can be looking at that from an attendance point. When we look at attendance, we also have to look at punctuality. Now, this is something that we've had a massive push on for the start of this year, more importantly than ever, because our period 1 timetable has adjusted. So obviously our period 1 timetable starts from 8:30 in the morning, but as Mr Vermaak has mentioned already, it does now include subject interventions, specifically for maths, English and science. Now, this is a real priority for us in terms of supporting children on their way to GCSEs, but it's also really important for us to be able to have that contact time with students every single morning. So when we look at our punctuality and we see lots of friendly faces on the gates in the morning, it's wonderful to see students getting in on time. But I do just want to remind all parents and students that our teaching period 1, does start at 8:30 in the morning. And that's something we all need to work together to ensure that our students are making full use of that time first thing in the morning. Now, I mentioned our period 1, and I have just put this little summary on the slide for you so that you can see what the plan is for our week. So Monday morning is an extended period 1 with the slight timetable changes, the time changes for the Monday, where we'll do whole school PD. Then we have our subject interventions, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning. And then on Friday, we rotate between assembly and careers. Now, I'm working with Miss Mason, as we mentioned already, who's our careers manager, and making sure that some resources are coming into students on a Friday morning so that they've got lots of options, but also lots of information about post-16 options, and making sure that deadlines and application processes are really clear for our students as they move throughout the year, but also as they move into their post-16 choices. So just wanted to flag with all parents that slight change to period 1. And obviously off the back of that is why our punctuality is such a massive push for this year, to make sure that students are taking full opportunity, but also aren't missing out on any key information that is being delivered throughout those period 1 sessions. I did just want to flag our academic mentor team. Now, some of these staff members have stayed with us from year 10, which is absolutely wonderful, but you'll also see the addition of our academic mentors and subject intervention tutors. So the whole team either teach maths, English, or science. So they rotate through their Mondays and Fridays, but also will be seeing a different group of students throughout the week for subject interventions. Now, the positive side to this means that your students have access to at least 2 members of staff of the team for any questions or concerns that they have. And it also means that we are making use of that period 1 time to support, especially for the core subjects, throughout the year. So I do want to flag that these members of staff are often your first point of call, and especially for the students, if they've got any questions or concerns, they can always go to their academic mentor, and then they can also obviously come through to me. Now, I did want to mention quickly on our safeguarding, we do maintain the mantra of it could happen here, and we have a whole group of staff who are safeguarding trained and who work to support your child on that side, as opposed to just focusing on the academic. We've always got our email of iamnotok@roninvalley.net if any student does need to be reaching out. We've also got lots of resources on the website. Our whole school PD on a Monday morning does look at our personal development curriculum and lots of really important conversations going through in those sessions. We also have the zone and the hub, so our wellbeing team who are well versed in all the stresses of year 11 and provide amazing support to our students during this tricky time. A few things that I kind of wanted to touch on, how we can best be prepared for year 11. We obviously have a few key dates coming up, but I think it's really important that we start having conversations with the family, with our students about realistic expectations and goals, about really knowing where our goal is, where we are heading towards, but also how we can do that in the best way possible. Miss Larkin has already mentioned a lot of the revision sites that we've got, and a lot of the resources through our Microsite, making sure that that is timetabled and that that is planned and that it is purposeful. Whenever I speak to students in the run up to a set of exams, they always say, what am I doing? Where am I going? We've got all of those resources and the time and effort that has gone into those to make sure that they are absolutely top notch. So I would take that moment to remind everyone of where we can access that Microsite, as Miss Larkin's already mentioned. On the flip side of that, we've got all of our social lives as well. And I know these students are incredibly busy and often have more plans than some of the staff in school, but making sure that we can balance that. So making sure that they are getting that time with friends and family, making sure that they're getting enough sleep, a very important thing at this age, but also making sure that they know who they can talk to when things do get a little bit much. I did want to draw your attention to a few of our key contacts, because obviously there's a lot that's going on in the school, but there's also so many people we can be talking to. So if we do have a particular issue with one particular subject, your subject teacher is going to be the best port of call with that. If there's an issue or a concern across a few different subjects on a timetable, an academic mentor is a really good person to chat to. Miss Parsley, our attendance manager, is absolutely amazing. She's always out on the playground. She's always chatting with our students and encouraging them to be getting in and checking in on them. So if we do have any concerns around attendance or punctuality or anything that we need to be aware of, Miss Parsley is your go-to person. Obviously, if there are any general concerns or concerns that you need to speak to me about, I'm always contactable. Email is easy, and phone call if we need to. And then our careers and post-16 options. So Miss Mason is an absolutely wonderful absolutely wonderful member of the team and an absolute fountain of knowledge when it comes to all of our options post 16. So not just looking at us here at the sixth form, but also looking at apprenticeships, local colleges, and all the options in between. So if students have a particular concern, or if you as a parent have a particular concern, there are lots of different people where you can be going to get help. I did just want to take this reminder about our parents' evening. It is coming up very quickly next Thursday, the 28th, as Mr Vermaak has said, 4 till 7 p.m. We're very excited to see everyone's faces again because we will be on school site. And I know that's been a little while for some of us, but we need to make sure that we are booking our appointments. So letter did go out from myself last week. That is also accessible via the website under the current parents tab. But we will be having our EduLink open up on Wednesday. So a couple of days time, Wednesday the 20th, using your EduLink login the same way you have in previous years, you'll be able to schedule your appointments. It's just that this time around, it will not be over computer. It will be here in school site. I do also encourage you to bring your children along to that. I always get questions of, do I need to come? And absolutely. There's a lot of language that we'll use that sometimes the parents may not be aware of, but the children are, and they are the reason we're here. So we need to make sure that they are a part of that conversation as much as possible. As Mr Vermaak said, there are some teachers who teach multiple classes. So if you are struggling to make an appointment with someone in particular, please do reach out to me or reach out to them directly. They'll be more than happy to find a time to have a chat with you. We always do this parents' evening quite early because we want to make sure that we are all on the same page, especially in the lead up to our round of exams, which are coming up straight after the October half term. So we need to make use of that time, and please do make appointments as best as we can. I'm going to pass over now to Miss Curling for our Director of Sixth Form, who's just going to have a little chat through some of our post-16 options.
Thanks, Miss. So everyone's probably thinking, that's not Miss Curling, that's Miss Larkin. I'm going to be speaking to you this evening, so you've got to deal with me again, apologies, about our fantastic sixth form. So I'm just going to get my screen ready for you. So lots of you probably already know, and if you don't, I work really, really closely with our fantastic Director of Sixth Form, Miss Curling. And I know Mr Vermaak touched on this earlier, and I did want to reiterate this. It's such a great time to talk about sixth form now. I know we think it's a long way off. I know we think it's months in the future and we have to get through examinations first. But let's be honest, when we've got a goal in mind, when we think, yes, I really want to do this, or I really, really want to do that, it really helps students aim for the top, and it really helps them put those revision strategies and all that work into practice. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what our sixth form has to offer, and a lot about our entry requirements, actually. And because if you guys know now, as parents in the September of year 11, it just really helps you try and navigate what's going to be suitable for your son or daughter. So hopefully you guys find this information useful. I also just want to remind parents that we do have the email address on the screen, parentforum@rodingvalley.net. If you wanted to ask any questions at all, then we are looking at that email address this evening as we are talking to you. So first things first then, why study at Roding Valley? Well, I guess the stats speak for themselves. And I guess lots of you have probably seen that back in September 2022, so just over a year ago now, we were awarded and graded as having an outstanding sixth form provision. And it's something we're really, really proud of. So I suppose it really speaks for itself. But just so I sort of summarise, really, we are an academic sixth form. We are a sixth form that really strives for excellence across all of the subjects that we offer. Yes, we offer a huge amount of academic A-level qualifications, which I'll put on the screen in a moment, but we also offer an outstanding provision of vocational subjects as well. And I would just like to say that the results that we got in our vocational subjects this year in particular were absolutely excellent. And I'll share a little bit about those in a minute. Now, you probably also know as well that our sixth form facilities are pretty amazing. Our sixth form is based in one of our newest buildings, which is the Brook building, or what we used to call the Brook Library. And it's essentially where our sixth formers have that home. They have that base. They have a supervised study. They have an independent study. They have a computer suite dedicated to them. They've got a sixth form team dedicated to them. It really is an outstanding provision. And I know this has also been touched on as well, but we do have a personalised, structured beyond 18 provision in place as well. so that when you come to our sixth form, you'll also be told constantly about all the opportunities that you have when you leave us, when you get to the age of 18. We have a dedicated careers officer, Miss Mason, who's already been mentioned this evening. There's just so much on offer. Whenever I go down to the sixth form area and I see the careers talks that we have in the morning, when I see all the guidance that's on offer, when I see the support from the team, I really am blown away. So it really, really is the place to be. But I know Mr Charlton touched on this at the beginning. We all obviously also have the results to back this up as well. And I think it goes without saying, but it's also good to mention that we're also a caring sixth form. And we have lots of staff that are looking out for our sixth formers, something that potentially isn't always there with a college provider, but it is something that we we really pride ourselves on, the pastoral sort of wraparound care that we also offer to our sixth form students. So I won't go into lots of detail about this, but here are some of the subjects that you can study at Roding Valley Sixth Form. Now, these are our main A-level and vocational qualifications. We are always thinking about how we expand our curriculum, but we always want to offer subjects that we have subject specialist teachers for. So it's really, really key that we have that expertise in our staff body to actually deliver these at Key Stage 5 level. You'll see that there's so many subjects on here. There is, truly something for everyone. And we know that when students come on results day, when they pick up that brown envelope and they want to then enroll into our sixth form, there are so many choices for them. But of course, the choices are there when students perform well at GCSE. And obviously, I do want to talk to you about those entry requirements. Okay, so obviously, we've got that lovely list of subjects you can study, but of course, we do have very, very strict and very clear entry requirements for our sixth form. So you'll see on the screen here that every student that wants to come and study A-levels in our sixth form needs to have an average point score of 42. And that is made up of your 8 best GCSE grades, and you simply add them together. So, for example, if you've got an 8 in history, that counts for 8 points. And let's say you've got, a 7 in English literature, you add those 2 together and you keep doing that until you get your best 8. And that must come to 42. It must come to 42. And if it does come to 42 at a minimum, then you can study 3 A-levels with us. Of course, if you've got an average point score of above 42, that's absolutely wonderful. It just means you've got more and more options in terms of the combination of subjects that you'd like to do. If you'd like to study our vocational pathway, which is made up of our BTEC courses, so for example, BTEC Business and BTEC IT, or potentially a CTEC, which is in that same bracket as a vocational course, so CTEC Sport, then you will need to get 32 points from your 8 best GCSEs. So essentially we have our A-level pathway and our vocational pathway. What I'll also tell you as well is that you must achieve a grade 4 minimum in maths and English. Okay, so that really, really is a must, which is why, as Mr Vermaak and Ms Pinches pointed out earlier, that's why we put so much effort and so much time into the intervention in those 2 core subjects, because we know that without getting that grade 4 minimum, it really becomes quite difficult to students when they want to go on to sixth form providers or they want to go on to study at college, because they will ask you for that grade 4. So it's so, so important that our students reach that goal. We also, of course, have entry requirements for individual subject areas as well. Now, if you would like to find out what the individual requirements are to, let's say, study history or politics or maths or physics, whatever you're interested in from that list, then you can find all of the individual entry requirements on our sixth form page by clicking on the sixth form prospectus. And then you just need to find the subject, have a little look, go to that page, and you'll see the individual grade requirement. Mostly it is a minimum of a grade 6. So a minimum of a grade 6. We do also have a few subjects that have entry requirements of grade 7s as well, because of the nature of that subject. And in some cases, so for example, a subject like economics that you don't study at GCSE, we will look at your maths grade just as a port of call. And again, that will be built into the entry requirements. So there are individual ones for every single subject that is on the screen. So I do urge you right now at this stage in year 11 to have a look at those. I think it's really important that we get our head around what we need to aim for the end of this academic year. Okay, so obviously on top of all of this, so our entry requirements, our pastoral support, and all the excellent facilities that we've got in our sixth form, of course, we also offer lots and lots of careers advice. And you sitting right here in year 11 right now, you will also receive lots of advice throughout the year. In fact, you might get a bit sick of all the careers advice you get. It's just because we like to give you as much information as possible so that you know what your options are. We will have a year 11 drop down day purely based on careers. You'll have year 11 careers meetings with our excellent careers advisor, Mrs. Mason. We have a careers microsite that sits on our main website that's got plenty of information on there about colleges, about universities, about all sorts of things. We also have a link on there to something called GED. Now, GED is an external website that we pay for, and that we pay for access for all of our students where they can do careers research and things like that. So there's just so much information out there, and it's never too early to start looking at it, especially if we're thinking about if we want to go to sixth form, college, or whatever we want to go on to do, even post 18 as well. So Ms Pinches and Mr Vermaak have both mentioned this in a key date, but I thought I'd mention it now in my section because it's also very relevant. Please put this in your diary. Wednesday, the 29th of November, we have our sixth form open evening. We will obviously send you more information about this, but it's a huge event on the calendar. It's an excellent event, and we look forward to welcoming each and every one of you to this very, very special evening. You can meet subject teachers, you can listen to Miss Curling talk about our sixth form, you can meet the wider sixth form team. We really look forward to welcoming you, and it's a brilliant event, so please make sure this goes into your diary, and we really look forward to welcoming you. So I'm just going to wrap this Parents Forum up now, just by saying we really look forward to seeing you all face-to-face at Parents' Evening. We can't wait to have you on our school site. And as always, there was a few key contacts mentioned on the screen, wasn't there, right at the beginning of this call. And I just want to sort of leave you with these contacts again, because I thought this is a really good screen here. There are so many people that are supporting your child this year. It's a really crucial year. That goes without saying, but it's also a very exciting year as well. And let's capitalize on the excitement, and let's turn that into lots of enthusiasm for doing well in our exams, for revising, and for thinking about our next steps, whether that be at our sixth form or at college. So I just want to wrap that up now and say thank you very, very much for attending this evening. Have a good rest of your evening. This will also be available on our YouTube as a recording if you would like to watch again. Thank you very much.